Hello, my name is Maria Fernandez, and I am a creative community herbalist. And in today's video, I wanted to speak a little bit about fear. And usually, the word fear stands for false evidence appearing real, if you do like the anagram of it. False evidence appearing as real. And that's what we do when we live in fear. We make these future scenarios and make them worst case as possible. And then we live it. At that moment, we create anxiety and worry. And the problem with that is that we could actually magnetize and make those prophecies become a reality because we're giving that energy to the outcome which we do not want. We give it so much energy that we actually attract it to ourselves. I'm a person that believes that what we think of, we create, right? Our thoughts become reality. And that if we're conscious, we could choose the things we think of. And sometimes it's really hard because sometimes we could be obsessive thinkers. And even though we know, like, oh, fear is going to create what we don't want, we're still guilty of behavior that, it's human nature, right? To have fear. And fear, it's such a great teacher because it's an emotion, it's a messenger. And fear is what teaches us to proceed with caution, to look at situations from multiple perspectives with different lenses. And fear teaches us to not let go of our control, to just know that we could only control ourselves. We can't control how people react. We can't expect or have expectations of behaviors of others. We could just look at ourselves and say, okay, what am I doing and what's in my control and what my boundaries are and what I can accept and what I won't accept. And also, what are we feeding our fear? Are we feeding it compassion, love, or are we feeding it more fear, more gloom and doom, more news from a specific narrative that only feeds the fear instead of helping it, seeing it from a different perspective, right? So fear is very tricky. It does not feel good because we don't feel at ease, we don't feel safe, and safety is something that we crave. So having uncertainty, especially in these times, right? Like we just want to know what's going to happen, and that's one of the things that I'm learning about life is that we could have all the plans, we could have all the ideas and all the vision boards, and we don't control anything. There's something greater that overall it makes us humble. It makes us humble to know that we're not in control. We have to surrender our power. We have to surrender our trust in the divine, right? In something greater than ourselves. And that does not mean in surrendering we give up our sovereignty, right? We still have needs and human rights. And so checking fear, checking it, keeping it in check. And not let fear mongering news from either side, right? Because at the end of the day, if I'm all about one agreement in any subject, I'm going to find information that feeds that. Either side, there's always information for both sides, depending on what the division is, right? Because that's what's happening. There's a lot of division instead of unification, and in dividing and conquering, right? So we have to stand very firm, very rooted, very center in what's true for us, what's coming up, and not suppressing. Because Sometimes our fear becomes anger, and our anger is really sadness, it's really grief. And I think that's what's going on right now. Like, we are feeling so much grief. Grief for everything that's going on. Grief for all the storms, all the wildfires, all the flooding, all the people who have passed away, whether it's COVID related, heart attack, cancer, car accidents, killed by somebody, you know, all the losses. And that is, an existential crisis that we're coming across of, wow, this life is temporary. Our expiration date, we don't know what it is, but it is there. We have an expiration date. And gripping that reality when it's so palpable, it's kind of freaky. It freaks us out. It puts us out of that control, that certainty, that knowingness, right? And this is where faith and trust and prayer and meditation and reflection and rituals and practices keep us in the present. This is what they be here and now is all about here. Because when I'm right here, right now, nothing is happening. It's just me speaking into this video device, expressing myself, opening my third chakra, my throat, right? It's not my third chakra, my throat chakra. In communicating what's coming up for me. And I guess I'm sharing this in hope, or I guess we share what's inside of us, because in stories, and when we speak our stories and when we talk about what's going on, we know that we're not alone. We see others, how they manage their fear or how they manage their pain. And there's like a solidarity, there's like a feeling of togetherness, right? Because it's not about blaming and pointing fingers. It's about just naming what's really there, what's true for you and me, no matter what side we stand on. And if we could get clear with that, then we could get much more further in what we're trying to do. Nature is chaotic. There's order in nature, but it's chaotic. So I see that, and I understand that about the virus. I understand it's chaotic. It mutates. We can't control it. In fact, we might never win against it. And accepting that little fact allows me to live better. Because if I try to defeat something that I'm not in control of, that is more intelligent and powerful than me, then I could accept that I could only do certain things to prevent it, and pray for the best, right? Some sort of optimism there. We could all do our best and keep our energy in whatever way it shows up, right? So if we're feeling sad, go into the sadness, not dismiss it and cry. If we're feeling anger, voicing that anger and seeing if that anger can move us into actions, right? But not necessarily actions that hurt others. Physical abuse is not right. If we're feeling joy, sharing that joy and kindness to others. All emotions are welcome, because they're messengers, they're information that let us know how to move about in this vehicle, this body that we're given in this moment in time. Because tomorrow you might feel different. All emotions will be blank slate, brand new. Well, you have a beautiful day. I think that's all I have to say for now. Thank you. Have a beautiful, blissful, and blessed day. Namaste.